Warner Brothers and DJ Dan Recording present Harry Potter and the Ongoing Story by Daniel Siletti, read to you by the author. Based upon the Harry Potter franchise created by J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers Pictures. Music by John Williams, Patrick Doyle, Nicholas Hooper, and Alexandra Desplat. To Brennan and Lindsay, thank you for being part of my mischievous trio. Dana Siletti. Dear reader, my name is Harry Potter. I am known as the boy who lived. However, I am more than that. I was accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I will never know why they keep that school open and continue to keep it open after the history of dark events that have happened there. From stones to chambers, to prisoners to goblets, to orders to princes, and finally Hallows, I have had quite an experience. On my first train ride to the school, I met children who would become my best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Ron was a bit of a goof, but stuck with me until my end. I shouldn't have told you that. Hermione was a beautiful girl who always cared for me. As the years went on, I started noticing Ron's sister Ginny. I noticed her so much I ended up marrying her, and Ron surprisingly marrying Hermione. I still feel bad for her. The four of us couldn't wait to send our children to Hogwarts, forgetting about all the evil and treacherous events they will come in contact with. Sorry, a tad dog, don't you think? Well, this is not about them. Besides, if I gave away any of their adventures, I bet their book would be cursed. This is about my relationship with 3 other students who I have full confidence in will continue to... well, you'll find out. Happy reading. Harry Potter. Prologue. This is the story of 3 children. 3 children with unbelievable abilities. One may even say they could make things happen and not know how they did it. These children soon became students at the finest school for these types of gifted people, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Over the years, the school has had many memorable students, but none were more famous than Harry Potter. After his years at Hogwarts, Harry led a life as normal as possible. However, he would visit the school frequently and get to know many of the students. Many new arrivals and appliers would come to Potter for help and guidance. One future student, by the name of Thomas Sculptor, not only became fascinated with Potter, but wanted to learn all the things he had and get to know as much about him as possible. Now, the story you are about to listen to is when one gets more than they asked for. Not only new friends, but a whole new adventure to embark on. Wands at the ready now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The New and the Old. Ouch, Don! A girl with freckles, whose hair was in a bun, whispered to the boy next to her in the giant classroom. Even though she tried to keep as quiet as she could, the small interjection traveled throughout the entire classroom. A tall figure started to approach the table where the 2 students were sitting. Now you're going to get it, the boy whispered back. Me? The girl questioned. Miss Langler, may I remind you that these walls are very old, but they can carry any sound, no matter the volume. The figure, who was an old woman and also had her hair in a bun, was practically in the face of the 18-year-old Elizabeth Langler by now. Yes, Professor McGonagall, Elizabeth responded. McGonagall slowly retired from Elizabeth's face and returned to the front of the classroom. Don, the boy sitting next to Elizabeth, and who had curly, reddish-blonde hair, leaned into the side of Elizabeth. I'm glad she got in your face instead of mine. Did you see them? See what? Her whiskers, the young man said. Elizabeth looked at Don like he had lost his mind. What do you mean? You can only see them when she's in the form of a cat, if you're lucky. Well, all I'm saying is that people have said that when she is up close to a student, they can sometimes see the little strands of hair above her upper lip. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. Just then the large wooden door at the side of the room opened, and two figures walked in. One was a grown man and had a pair of perfectly circular glasses. The other was a young man, about the same age as Dawn and Elizabeth. The boy had a simple haircut and small brown eyes. Professor McGonagall walked over to them in a joyful manner. "Well, well, this is a surprise. Class, I'm sure you all know the boy who lived, the legendary Harry Potter?" The class immediately all looked in amazement as Harry just smirked and slightly nodded his head. "Much thanks, Professor. I appreciate the extraordinary welcome, but I'm just Harry Potter, and that's all." All the girls in the class giggled at Harry's modesty. "Anyway, I have a new student for you. This is Thomas Sculptor. He has transferred here from Frogsnotes." "Well, welcome to Hogwarts. I think there's an extra seat over there next to Mr. Carter." Thomas went over to the desk and sat next to Dawn. McGonagall brought Harry aside to fill him in on the reconstruction of Hogwarts. "What are your names?" Thomas asked. Dawn pulled a butterbeer-flavored candy bar from his pocket and bit into it right as Thomas asked the question. "I'm Don Carter," Dawn responded, muffled by the candy bar while crumbs fell out. "What he tried to say was that he is Don Carter and I'm Elizabeth Langler. Now, if you don't mind me asking you a question, how do you know the great Harry Potter?" "I know his kids," Thomas responded in excitement. The three continued to discuss how Thomas came to know the Potters, and how he eventually, through knowing Harry, came to know Harry's closest friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Dawn then interrupted Thomas's story. "Can you answer me this? Is this Granger girl as beautiful in person as she is when she's promoting the Hogsmeade Hotel?" Elizabeth thrusted her elbow into Dawn's side. "Ow!" Dawn said. "Now you know how it feels," Elizabeth responded in resentment. Potter and McGonagall turned their heads toward the three students and glared at them. The students looked into the professor's and Harry's eyes, and then looked at each other in surprise. McGonagall then lowered her head, pulled her glasses halfway down her nose, and then raised an eyebrow. Even though Thomas had not dealt with the professor yet, he and the other two students who had had her before knew that when she did that look, she meant business. The students immediately turned toward the front of the classroom and silenced themselves. "Still works, I see," Potter whispered to McGonagall. McGonagall smiled modestly. Don opened his mouth and stuck out his tongue while he pointed his finger at it. Elizabeth grabbed Don's wrist and pulled his hand down, and Thomas closed his mouth. "Can you just behave? Can you behave just for a minute? Honestly, Donald," Elizabeth exclaimed while exhaling a deep breath. Harry Potter started to walk over to the students and knelt down to Thomas's side, and Harry whispered in his ear and then winked at him. Thomas nodded slowly in response. Elizabeth and Dawn looked perplexed, first at Thomas, then at each other. Harry then gave a small envelope to the young man. "We'll talk soon." Harry got up and proceeded to the front of the classroom and through the door. Thomas quickly stuck the note into his pocket, trying to let nobody notice that he was holding his pocket shut with his hand. Dawn looked down and noticed Thomas's fidgety pocket. "Thomas, you all right?" Thomas snapped his neck towards Dawn. "Who? What? Nothing." Dawn looked confused at his possible new friend. "Your pocket." Dawn pointed to Thomas's side. By this time, Thomas's hand was jumping out of his pocket, and his pant leg was bouncing up and down. Elizabeth soon noticed Thomas's new, quote, dance craze as well. "Can you guys keep a secret?" Thomas whispered. "Well, having this be Hogwarts and knowing the history it's had, it might be hard to do. But if Donald would stop gossiping at dinner and not sneak food into class," she slapped the candy bar out of his hand as he was still eating, "I think we can do that." A loud bell rang and almost shook the entire room. This signaled to the class that it was over. At this time, everyone was going to lunch. "Meet me in the Grand Hall in 5 minutes and I'll explain everything." Thomas got up and ran out of the classroom door. Elizabeth and Dawn gathered up their books and followed the rest of the class as they walked through the giant halls of the castle known as Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.